Hello. Today we did an activity on symmetry for math. Part of the math exam that both grade 2 and 3 will be given has an element in it that looks at symmetry. Symmetry is basically understanding that objects and shapes have a dividing line that when you divide that object or the shape, that you get two equal halves that are a mirror image of each other. So it's basically a reflection of one side of an object. Typically or regularly, you can get a symmetrical line going vertically. So a human being, if you were to put a line right through the center of us going top to bottom vertically, we have a line of symmetry that way. So one half, if we folded it and put it on top of the other, it would be the exact same copy. So I'm sending home a few sheets that practice this idea of symmetry. And on this page, we have a cut and paste activity. So if you see here at the bottom, you've got pieces of a missing shape. What the student is expected to do is to cut and paste the other half that is identical to the one that's here above. So if you notice this one over here, if we look down below, there should be a mirror image of that shape. Okay, so it's not going to be, this shape slid or sliding over to the other side. It's going to be a flipped image of this particular shape. So this one over here would be this one over here. Okay, this one over here. And another example would be, let's say this one that looks like half of a house. Well, the mirror image or the line of symmetry, which is vertical, it would be this one, and it would be glued next to it to make a complete image. Okay, so in this case, we're focusing on one axis of symmetry, which is this vertical line, and it's a mirror image of the one that is present. Okay. Today in class, we had some objects and I asked them to draw a line of symmetry. And in some cases, there are two lines of symmetry. For example, in this rectangle, there is a horizontal line and there is also there's a horizontal line and there is a vertical line going up and down. Because if you were to fold it, let's say horizontally, the top would match the bottom equally. And if we did a vertical line, the left side flipped over onto the other side would match exactly. So in some cases, like for example, in this shape over here, some students did a vertical line. And I explained to them, if we folded this side over onto this side, would it match? Would it be exactly the same? And when they realized after folding that, no, it would not be exactly the same, then that is not symmetrical. That there's only one symmetrical axis here, and that is here horizontally, because if we folded the top down to the bottom, that we would have lines and sides and curves that would match each other. We're getting there. This is some students, this is their first time being exposed to the idea of symmetry. And of course, to get more complicated, we have complete the symmetrical drawing. A lot of students had a lot of success with this. This was great because it's difficult to imagine, what the completed design is. And in this case, where people went wrong was in the size of the reflected image. So here I explained that we have to pay attention to how many squares are taking up one half of the drawing. So we have to follow the same rule on the other side. So here there are 3 squares to the left, so we need to do 3 squares to the right. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares down, we have to do the same thing. 6 squares down. And that completes the drawing symmetrically. Okay, so it's even and both sides match. It started to get a little bit more complicated here, but if we follow the rule of how many squares, and we have to just remember that it is a reflection. So it's not going to be the same drawing, just slid downwards. It's going to be a reflection, so the opposite, but would match exactly. We may have to actually do like a little cutout and do the actual flipping to really understand that it is a flip and not a sliding down, because that's where I'm noticing that some of the students are getting the idea confused. So it's not a sliding, it's a flipping. Okay. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, please send me a message through Dojo. I think it's really important to repeat often that it is a flip and not a slide. Okay. So